Hi there, welcome to Drick's room. My name is Drick. Arguably, one of the most important parts of one's college applications is the Common App essay. But this essay is also one of the hardest parts of the entire process of applying to schools. Because unlike supplemental essays, which are specific to individual schools, the Common App essay is sent to all of your schools, unless you're applying to schools outside of the Common App like MIT and Georgetown. Honestly, it's not all that hyperbolic to say that the Common App essay is the single most important essay of the entire college application process. You can look at this essay sort of as your personal statement. It's where you highlight an aspect of yourself that you can't do anywhere else in your application. There are a total of 7 different prompts you can choose from, but they all get at basically the same thing, which is that admissions officers want to see your personality and identity shine through your writing. It can really be about anything you want within reason, as long as it's meaningful to you. Whether you want to talk about the lessons you learned from your uncle as you journeyed across the world on an impossible mission in order to regain your honor, or about how you were able to convince your best friend to return to the village after he left years ago to avenge his clan by defeating his brother. As long as you can tell a personal story that reveals something about who you are and you tell it in a way that no one else but you could tell, you'll be Gucci. When you're in senior year, which is when you'd be writing your Common App essay, there are very few other things that you can really improve on. Maybe you could try to bump up your GPA another 1/10 of a point, or try to take the ACT one last time. But at that point, it really becomes a conversation on diminishing returns and what you could do to better be spending your time. This is why it's so important to put forth the best writing skills you can muster and try to tell as compelling of a story as you possibly can. Ordinary applicants can become extraordinary by writing a great Common App essay. And by great Common App essay, I don't mean that it has to be written on some particularly extravagant experience in your life. You don't have to have cured cancer or won a Nobel Prize in order to write a great essay. It's just as possible to derive meaning from the mundane. It's a matter of execution more than it is a matter of subject. And if you came here looking for ideas for what to write your Common App essay on, I'm sorry to say that I can't really be of help. Deciding on a Common App essay topic is a deeply personal process. And it would be a bad idea to decide what to write your essay on after watching some random guy on the internet, no matter how cool, funny, and charismatic he may be. Any advice I would give you guys would be pretty limited in perspective since I don't really know any of y'all personally. In any case, I don't think anyone should tell you what to write about. You can definitely talk to other people to help get some ideas, but ultimately, you know yourself the best. So if you're having trouble trying to think of a topic, try brainstorming as many ideas as you can and filtering through them. If you have time, you could also try writing some trial essays for these different ideas and see what you like. And if you really want to, you could always take a long stroll through the woods to help clear your mind and reflect on who you are and what you want to convey. Again, it doesn't have to be some kind of grand event, but you'll know it when you find the topic you want to write about. And coming upon that realization is something only you can do. So, instead, I'll share some advice on how to actually go about writing your Common App essay once you already have an idea of what to write about. I went through the college application process last year, and through trial and error, and multiple renditions, revisions, and scrap drafts, I've gathered a good bit of advice to impart on you youngins. In this video, I'll be giving advice to help build more of a general framework to help you get started or continue working on your essay. So I'll start with some more general advice about the writing process as a whole here, and then move on to more specific situations and more nuanced advice in the future. Probably in the next video, but who knows. But before I begin, once again, I'm not an admissions officer, college counselor, or any other person qualified to give you advice on the matters of college applications. Everything I say comes from my own experience and research, so the advice I give is anecdotal at best, but I do believe it can be of help. Of course, take everything I say with a grain of salt because There are no hard absolutes here, and this process is very, very subjective at best and random at worst. And on that lovely note, let's get started. First thing I want to say is to start early, but not too early. It's around mid-September right now, which is a pretty good time to start working on it if you're a senior. If you're a junior or even younger, you shouldn't be working on your Common App essay because you've got a lot of time between now and next application season. So in the meantime, go watch some anime or something. If you are a senior, that's great. Now is the perfect time to be working on your essays. You've got about a month and a half until the early action deadline, which is awesome. Deadlines are coming up soon, but you've still got quite a bit of time still. And if you're not applying anywhere EA because a number of schools are holding off on early action and early decision this year for reasons, you've got lots of time until the regular decision deadlines in January. Writing what some may call the most important essay of your high school career can definitely seem like a daunting task. So having the ability to spread it out over a period of time is just what you need. You have time to hack away at it and polish it over the coming months. And while it's good to be starting early like this, I'd like to make a point about being too early. It may be a relief to get your Common App essay done and dusted by the end of September, but I would recommend at least spacing it out more. As you work on your Common App essay and your supplemental essays, your college essay writing skills are naturally gonna level up quite a bit. This is a continuous, mostly additive process, which means that you will be a better writer in November and December than you may be right now. So if you allow yourself to continue working on your Common App essay through this period, you may find that you can still improve it a good amount. That's not to say that you should wait until the day before your deadline to write it, which I definitely did not do. But having it mostly done and refining it over time can take your essay to the next level. The 80-20 rule says that 80% of results come from 20% of the work, or something like that. This means that that last 20% is something you're gonna have to work toward over time. Next, I'd like to emphasize the idea that the Common App essay is like a story you're telling to admissions officers. Not a rehashing of your resume, not a plea for acceptance into the school of your dreams, a story. Admissions officers do not have very long to read through your essay. They review thousands upon thousands of applications every year. I've heard that sometimes admissions officers will only spend 2 to 3 minutes on your essay. That's it. You've got 2 to 3 minutes to wow your admissions officers and make them remember your name. And the best way, I believe, to do that is by telling a compelling story. No matter the time period or the culture, people have told and listened to stories. Storytelling gives us the ability to captivate and engage readers and listeners in ways that no other form of writing or speech can, which is why it's been said that the most successful college essays are the ones that tell the most engaging stories. So how do I do that, you may ask? Well, I'll tell you. You may be familiar with the 3-act structure of storytelling. You got the beginning, the middle, and the end. The beginning is where you set things up, where you provide context and background information. The middle is where the main action happens, where the subject of your essay is focused. And the end is where the resolution occurs, where you reflect and conclude. Another way to look at this is like this. Say you have some event or experience you want to highlight in your essay. In the beginning, you can talk about what you were like before this experience. In the middle, you can talk about actually undergoing said experience. In the end, you can talk about how you are after the experience, what you've learned from it, how you will be moving forward, etc. This way, you can really focus on how you have undergone a change in character, which can make for a compelling character arc. Another way of looking at this is by dividing your essay into 3 sections: experiences, beliefs, and actions. The experiences refer to the event that you undergo over the course of the essay. This sort of combines both the beginning and middle of your essay. The belief refers to an understanding you've gained or a change you've experienced as a result of the experience. And the action refers to how you plan to take what you've learned with you into the future and how you will act on it. These last two parts more so encompass the ending of your story in the more orthodox 3-act structure. Of course, not all compelling and engaging essays have to follow this structure, but many of the ones I've seen have. This framework is fairly straightforward, and it's a great way of highlighting one of your traits, especially if your essay discusses change. I followed this structure when I was writing my essay, and I think it turned out pretty well. By the way, I'll link a video to my essay in the corner and in the description if you're curious as to what my essay was about. My next piece of advice is to write first, edit later. This is something I had trouble with toward the start of my writing process and gradually got better at as I was writing more essays. Whether or not that was because I was running low on time or not is besides the point. One of the biggest problems writers face is that they want to get everything perfect on the first try, which almost never happens in practice. I saw a tweet by Neil Gaiman that said, "Write down everything that happens in the story, and then in your second draft, make it look like you knew what you were doing all along." Back when I was applying to schools, I was so fixated on making the opening line of my essay sound good. I spent a good deal of time on it, but towards the end of the essay, I thought of a better way to go about my writing, so I essentially restarted from the beginning. Rough drafts are rough drafts because they're rough. They're not going to be perfect until you polish them over a couple drafts. Write your whole essay first, even if you don't like it at all. Even if you're 400 words over the limit. Write your essay first, then you can take a step back and see the big picture. You may see something that you wouldn't have realized if you had stayed so fixated on that opening line. You don't want to lose the forest from the trees, as they say. It'll probably take several drafts before you have something you're happy with, and that's okay. And on the point of losing the forest from the trees, take a step back once in a while and make sure that you haven't derailed at any point. This is your story and you want to focus on the experiences that are relevant to said story. If you're writing about a subject you're really passionate about, you don't want to focus more on the subject than yourself. I've seen people dedicate whole paragraphs to explaining small details of their subject. It's great that the person is so passionate about their interests, but details on scientific concepts or the falling autumn leaves usually doesn't say a whole lot about one's character, or at least they don't say what you want to convey. Keep in mind that your word space is limited and that admissions officers don't spend a lot of time reading your essay. You need to write with purpose and precision. Ask yourself if the detail you're giving is necessary to this purpose. This is especially helpful for people who are way over the word limit because it can help cut down your overflow word count by a lot. In any case, focus on your experiences because they are what will ultimately contribute to your character. If this was a creative writing class, it may be fine to include descriptive details, but this is a college essay, not a creative writing piece. As Professor Oak once said, "There's a time and place for everything, but not now." And on that note, you want to make sure that admissions officers take away the same message that you're trying to convey to them. You know what you want to say because you already know what you want to say since you're the one writing it. But your admissions officers don't know who you are, so your message has to be clear to them because they don't have the time to sit there and analyze your essay for hidden meaning. The core of your essay, the message you're trying to convey of who you are, should be able to be summarized in a sentence or two. What I would recommend is that toward the end of your writing process, have an outside perspective read your essay, maybe a teacher or friend. You can ask them what you were trying to say about yourself through the essay, and if they can come up with the same message you had in mind, then admissions officers will probably be able to do the same. It's also helpful to have someone to help you proofread in general. Hopefully you'll be proofreading your essays as well, but it's definitely possible to miss things since you're the one that wrote them. Having an outside perspective can be really nice to help catch mistakes that you didn't, but it can also be helpful for bouncing ideas off of them, going back to my point about conveying your message clearly. Having a teacher or college counselor help you edit can be good to help you take your writing up a level in terms of sophistication and command of language. But I do want to advise against having too many people read your essay because Having too many perspectives can become overwhelming and counterproductive when they start to contradict one another. I'd say 2 to 3 is solid. I had 3, and each of them had a slightly different perspective that helped me develop my writing better. Lastly, I just want to re-emphasize that this is your story. This means that it should be told in your voice. I know a lot of kids are anxious about the prospects of college admissions, which may make them want to portray what they want to be seen as rather than who they really are. I totally get that, and I went through that same conflict. Ultimately, you should aim to portray yourself as best as you can. After all, it's usually easier to write about someone you know than someone you don't, and no one knows you better than yourself. You can play up your strengths and really let your personality shine through your essay. If you're naturally funny, then play up the humor. If you're better at calling on emotion, then do that. If something isn't your forte, then don't force it to be. You may have heard of the phrase, show, don't tell. This means that you should let your voice be heard in the way that you develop your story. You shouldn't spoon feed your story to your admissions officers because that detracts from your ability to express your individuality in an effective way. Your essay is your canvas, and there is no right way to paint. Van Gogh and Warhol are both considered to be great artists, but for widely different reasons. Have faith in your voice and tell a story only you could tell. Well, I hope that these tips can help guide you as you navigate the Common App writing process. It's definitely not easy, but that's exactly why a great essay can separate you from the crowd. In the next video, hopefully, I'll be going more into some specific pieces of advice that apply to specific instances rather than your writing as a whole. If you're interested in keeping up with this series, be sure to subscribe and click that bell icon to turn on notifications and stay tuned for more. Once again, I'll link a video to my Common App essay down below for those who are curious. But there are also plenty of other resources here on YouTube and elsewhere on the internet if you're looking for examples of different kinds of essays. With that being said, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!